It's just amazing. We just can't catch up on the housing shortage. You just cannot build enough homes. It's great to be here in Wichita with y'all. As you're talking about how many years we've been doing this now and how long the firm's been in business, made me remember something about your dad and my dad. This is kind of fun. I think about 1953, my dad decided he wasn't going to make it as a professional golfer. He'd been out at McDonald Park for a couple of years with Tex and decided he was going to get in real estate because I was going to be born. And shortly after that, he decided West Wichita was the place to be for him. So this was before there was a West Wichita. And as I grew up around the business, I remember being a teenager and my dad saying, "That crafty Nestor Weigand Sr., I'm out there trying to convince people to move to West Wichita. And I'm telling people that you can buy more house per square foot on the west side of town." And he's telling people, "Yeah, but if you do, then you have to drive into the sun, go into work, and you have to drive into the sun." And Dad could never overcome that objection. There was just no way around that. That just... And then I got a journal article as a tenured professor documenting that. I actually took the data and said, is there a difference in price per square foot in East and West Wichita? And there was a significant difference. And I got tenured a few years later, and I got a pay raise out of it at the university. So anyhow, it's fun to be with you. Thanks for inviting me back again. It's good to see y'all. Let's flip over, if you don't mind. There we go. That's kind of what I'm looking at. Let me get back here. I love using a picture. Last year, my picture was an American Airlines flight, and I mentioned it feels like the economy is beginning its initial approach. That 2019 was going to be a great year. When you're in a plane and the pilot says we're beginning initial approach, that means it's still going 500 miles an hour or so. It's still at 30,000 feet, doing exactly what it was supposed to do. And some people were telling you on CNBC, we're going to have a recession in the third quarter of 2019. And I just came out and said, that's impossible. Just not going to happen. It's probably somebody on CNBC, maybe from MIT, saying something like that. If you haven't heard of MIT, they're a community college back east. They got a good basketball program. I had somebody come up about 3 months ago and say, "I'm one of those people from the basketball team." I said, "Well, give me 5. Being an economist means there's a 50% chance everything you say is wrong. So that's just part of the profession. So even people at MIT can take jokes too occasionally. Bottom line is, I could have used the same metaphor beginning our initial approach, because we're still flying along good. The plane is performing perfectly. What happens when you're in initial approach? Actually, what doesn't happen when you're in initial approach, you don't go higher and you don't go faster. And so I kind of anticipated that 2019 would be a super year to be in business. It just wouldn't be stronger. And I could use that exact same metaphor this year. But I think that's boring. So I tried to think of something different, and I like this. Good fishing ahead, but keep an eye on the clouds. When I was here last year, there weren't any clouds at all. And there are a couple of clouds out there today, and I'll mention them to you. But look at this picture for a minute. It's a good day to be out fishing. This is the whole year in front of us, as far as I can see. It's a great day to be out fishing. Whatever business you're in, it's going to be a very good time to be in business. There's a few clouds in the sky, but none of them are dark. There's no rain. There's no lightning. You don't have to come in off the lake because of a storm. There's just a couple of clouds out there that I keep track of. And so with that said, that's what I want to talk about, is the good fishing and the clouds. I want to talk about why I think interest rates are going to get even lower than they are now. And I want to talk about why I think commercial real estate is still a great investment. I know you might, if you've never been here before. How many of you have never been here? I'm just curious. Anybody? Yeah, there's a few. Okay, great. Well, number one, I don't do Zig Ziglar power of positive thinking, let's put some lipstick on a pig and sell something speech. And I don't have any self-esteem, so I don't care if you do either by the time we're done here, okay? This isn't a motivational speech. My goal is to give you some information that might help you understand what lenders are thinking or investors are thinking or just normal American people are thinking related to real estate. And so I don't sell real estate, but just as a fact, my entire retirement account is 69% allocated to commercial real estate. So I'm almost fully diversified, 69% real estate, and the rest of it's in CDs earning 3%. So I pay pretty close attention to commercial real estate along with the rest of you. This is why people about 3 years ago started coming up to me and saying, hey, what inning are we in? And it felt like we were going to have a recession. The clouds were starting to form in 2016. And I was telling people at the time, okay, what inning are we in? 7th inning. Still got plenty of room to go. And then you know what happened? Now somebody that heard that speech would come up to me and go, hey, we still in the 7th inning? That was like 4 years ago. And I go, nope, we're in extra innings. Now, you know what I didn't figure on? I didn't figure on Donald Trump being the president, and I didn't figure on a Congress passing tax reform. I had a whole year I was saying there's zero probability that Congress will pass tax reform. And it shows what I know. But you see, that was the game changer. We were starting to try to have a recession in 2016. And then we have this tax reform, and that bought all kinds of time. You'll hear people on TV say, oh, the sugar high of tax reform is burning off. Well, that's a person that might know something about diabetes that knows nothing about economics and history, all right? They don't mix too good. I did the research on it. We've had 2 tax reforms in my lifetime, the Kennedy tax cuts in the early 60s and the Reagan tax cuts in the mid-1980s. And the burn on those, the positive incremental energy that those had was about 5 to 6 years. It's not a sugar high that burns off in 3 years. That's why the economy is still strong, gang. Everybody in business got a tax cut. And a lot of people, a lot of private individuals got a tax cut too. And so that's why we're going so long. We're at 129 months now, 9 months longer than the longest one ever. People are asking me, what happens to impeachment? Oh my goodness, what if we have impeachment? I said, well, the economic implications of impeachment are absolutely nothing. It's a non-economic event. Nobody cared. The last time we had a longest expansion, 120 months, I attributed that to one individual back in the day when it was happening. And it was Monica Lewinsky. Clinton was getting impeached. Did the economy care that Bill Clinton got impeached? What were people doing while Bill Clinton was getting impeached or when Donald Trump was getting impeached? Nothing. They were having picnics, they were visiting their family, they were serving customers, buying stuff, enjoying America, and they didn't care a thing about impeachment, and nobody cared a thing about this one either unless you like to watch too much TV. I've been the most optimistic person in the room for probably 2 years now because I don't watch TV news at all. It's nothing but propaganda. Look that up. If you don't know what propaganda is, look it up. That's all it is. Fox News, propaganda. MSNBC, CNN, nothing but propaganda. Russia, I don't see any difference between them and Russia Today and Al Jazeera. It's all, oh, and by the way, everybody's all excited. See, the media likes to get you really excited, so you'll tune in so they can sell you more advertising. It's disgusting for me to watch. But they got you all jacked up about Russia meddling in politics. Do you think Russia's been trying to meddle in politics since about 1940? This is what Russia does. They destabilize countries. It's working perfectly. Donald Trump is on the take with Russia. Now Bernie Sanders is on the take from Russia. If I'm Vladimir Putin, I'm going, man, I'm promoting my marketing guy because he's getting it done. All these idiots are going, oh goodness, they're manipulating our elections. Do you think we don't try to manipulate their elections? I mean, let's get a life. Here's the thing. Tribal politics means you like to watch your show, news show, so that you can get mad and hate these people. And you watch every day so you can get a reloaded dose of anger and bitterness so you can hate these people. And you over here, you watch your TV show and you get exactly the same thing. You're trained to hate them. And you know how it works? The media people, they're just raking in the advertising by suckering you into thinking you're learning something from that propaganda. And you too. I find it totally disgusting and repugnant. Tribal politics is just bad for this country. So don't clap. Don't clap. I'm not running for office. I pay my taxes. I can't run for federal office. And there's a couple people in this room that know that my high school career was kind of like Brett Kavanaugh, so I'm completely disqualified. If my wife was here, she'd go, "No, Mark, you're not. You were a nerd in high school. You didn't do nothing." But anyhow, just stop watching it. Students ask me, how do you... there are a lot of people in this room that probably people look to you for advice and counsel about investing and life in general. If you feel like you do that at all, don't pay attention to TV. You are disinforming yourself and causing you to have the wrong outlook and wrong facts about our economy. And you can be making very poor decisions for yourself and providing very poor advice for others based on watching TV or Facebook or Twitter. I don't do any anti-social media, and I never will. I will never, ever have a Twitter account or a Facebook account. I mean, if you like watching Fox News for entertainment because you like to be angry and bitter, knock yourself out for that. But don't watch that kind of stuff or MSNBC thinking, yeah, I got to stay on top of things because my clients really need to know what's going on. The Russians are meddling. First time ever Russia decided to meddle in our politics this year. Stay tuned tomorrow. Let me show you the facts. Number one, before I show you the good stuff, let me show you why. Like I said, I don't do Pollyanna stuff, and I have walked into this room like I did in a whole lot of places. I'm not always jovial and optimistic like I am today and have been for about the last 6 years. 2008, I walk in a room like this, and people would say afterwards, you know, for an economist, you're still kind of funny, but why is it that every time I hear you now, I want to take a warm bath with a glass of red wine and a razor blade, okay? That's the kind of feedback I was getting in 9, 10, and 11. Because I'm not afraid of that, because I want to try to help people make good decisions, not whether it's good or bad, just what's real. But it's slowing down. Car sales have slowed down. Trucking and shipping slowed down. Oil and gas prices are low, and they're going to get lower, it looks like. Trade negotiations with China are causing uncertainty, but we're winning on that. I said that last year and 2 and 3 years ago. China's a subcontractor for America. If we don't buy from them, they're done. And we're seeing this. Businesses all over our country, all over the world, are realizing it was a mistake to have every shoe that you sell all over the world come out of China. What happens if the Chinese ports get shut down? What happens if the Chinese government gets overthrown and all of your suppliers are stuck in China and you can't do any business? The whole world is reassessing their idea of having all of their stuff made in China. The rest of the globe is going to participate. So we are making huge progress in that. And you know what's sad? I know a whole lot of people don't like Donald Trump. I didn't vote for him last time, and I didn't vote for the lady that ran against him either. I didn't want to vote for either one of them, but it's okay to celebrate when somebody does something good. And you know what? A trade agreement with China, that phase 1 deal, was good. And you know what? A trade agreement with Canada and Mexico, that's going to be really good. And it's okay. Even if you're a Democrat or a Republican, it's okay to say something good happened in our country. Just because that person isn't in your tribe doesn't mean you can't enjoy life because somebody does something good. So lots of good stuff is happening. Okay. I can't even believe socialism's on the dance floor now. This is just it's just fascinating. It's overwhelming to me. I've made a couple of speeches. I made a speech in San Jose last fall, and I just made one in San Diego yesterday. And I don't know if you know this or not, but there's some Democrats out in San Jose. They just got them out there. And I said, you know what? I don't like Republican Party or the Democratic Party. I think they're both the biggest blight to our economic future, and I can't stand either one of them. I love Republican people. I like Democratic people too, probably love them too. But I can't stand either one of these political parties, period, especially when you vote against everything that might even be good, and they vote against anything you might do that's good. It's just disgusting. So anyhow, if I was in front, it's just unfathomable to me that we're the only country on earth that's talking positively about socialism. You know why it is? If this was the CEO of the Fortune 500 in America, I'd be saying, hey, gang, you know why we're talking socialism in America? You know what the problem is? It's you. You're causing this. Because your workers aren't celebrating enough of the success that your company's doing. They don't feel like they're a part of it. They feel like they work hard and you make a lot of money and they make their minimum wage and then that's done. That's the problem. And so where's the good news out of that? I actually heard it probably 3 or 4 months ago. Boeing's having to peel off some money for settlements because the plane's not flying right now. And Southwest Airlines got a settlement check, and you know what they did with it? They shared it with their workers. Listen to me, I sound like a communist, don't I? Workers unite, all right? You know, it is not communist to share profits with the people that work for you. They're like your family. And when you make all the money and your family doesn't get it, your family doesn't care whether you make money or not. And after a while, your family that's not making money gets mad enough, and enough of those people get mad, and you have a revolution like they had in France. And I'm telling you, that ain't much fun. And there's a candidate right now that's talking about being a socialist. Bully for him. And that same person uses the word revolution all the time. See, I don't take those words lightly. Talk to somebody from Iran that had to leave Iran in 1979. They got sick of the Shah. They wanted somebody else. They wanted a revolution. They got a revolution. Socialism means the complete control of the means of production and the means of distribution. You put me in charge, I'm the socialist guy. You vote for Bernie because he's friendly and nice, and you think that's kind of neat. And I'm feeling the burn, and that's okay. It's America. Don't get mad at me and leave if you love Bernie. I don't care if you love Bernie or not. That's your right as an American, okay? But let's just be real about this. Socialism is the complete means of production. So you vote for Bernie, and all of a sudden he's gone, and guess what? I'm the new president of the United States, and I'm the head of the Socialist Party in this country, and I'm not near as friendly as you are. And I'm going to tell you what to do, and I'm going to tell you where you work, and I'm going to tell Walmart and Target what they can sell. And you know what? There's corruption in capitalism. There's also corruption in socialism and communism. Plenty of it. And when I get in charge of the Socialist Party of America, we'll be making stuff that my cousins make. That's how that's going to work. Tractor tires. You're going to find tractor tires everywhere because Elmer makes them. And he's the new head of the economy of the United States. And for you women that want to buy something at Target, a fragrance for Christmas, essence of tractor tire, okay? Yeah. See how this is going to work? And here's where it gets even better, because not only am I in control of your health care and your jobs, I'm also in control of the military. You play ball with me, or it ain't fun for you ever again. I can't believe people aren't asking about this on TV. What kind of nitwit people that ask these candidates stuff to say, what do you mean by this, man? Is this what you want? What are you talking about? Let's hear it. Look up the word revolution, see how that fits with you too. It sounds kind of fun. Let's get into revolution. Well, revolution means a complete overthrow of the current status quo. They got a revolution in Iran. Didn't work out really good for them. You can't predict a revolution just because one nice guy's going to give you a free tuition. So anyhow, people ask me, what's the outlook for the economy with the whatever it is, the election, you can tell I really like politics, pay a lot of attention to it. I don't really care if a Republican or Democrat wins, but if a socialist wins, this country will be different than you ever seen before. And there's plenty of people in this country that want that to happen, all right? It's just not business people. If you're not a business person, knock yourself out. I've been doing this for 22 years now. Like Nestor said, probably about 330,000 people. I haven't met one person in that period of time that has come up to me as an investor or a business owner, man or woman, and say, Mark, I'm really looking forward to a socialist overthrow of the government. Boy, when that happens, I'm going to ramp up production. These people are going to leave. That's what it's going to be. I can't believe it's going to happen. I can't believe I'm even forced to even talk about it now. But it matters to me. It matters to me. We got the best country on earth, and we got some problems, but they're going to be solved. They're starting to be solved too. If you're a younger person, there's hope for you. Big corporations are starting to realize that climate change matters. Whether it's real or not, I don't know. But it's real enough to younger people that it matters to them. And you know what's happening? All these companies realize they got to hire a 30-year-old genius in information technology. That 30-year-old genius in information technology isn't going to go to work for Exxon anymore, period. And that's why you see Microsoft and people like that come out and go, wow, we're going to support climate change, the environment. Our new logo's got a polar bear on it even. It's like, we're in. They're not doing that because for philanthropy. They're doing that because they can't hire workers without having that kind of social attitude. And that's great. That's cool. That is not government control. I don't want to live anywhere where my government can control my life, ever. I won't. And I'm not Barbara Streisand. I'm not threatening that I'll leave if some Republican gets off. They never do. They always threaten they're going to, and then they don't. I will leave here. I don't want to be in a country that controls my life, period. Congress isn't going to be interested in growth. That was a dunk. I mean, Congress was just, they don't multitask. All they can do is impeach and yell at each other on TV. So I knew that was a dunk last year. Same thing this year. And the federal budget can't get much higher. It's already $1 trillion. The budget deficit's $1 trillion. And then we're going to have standard deal every 4 years, presidential election uncertainty. This year is going to be unique because the virus thing is causing a lot of uncertainty. So the underlying fundamentals of the economy is strong as a pit bull. But the first 3 or 4 months of this year could be pretty slow, and the numbers will come out and say it's pretty slow, and then people will come out from MIT and some of those other good basketball programs back east and say, oh, you see, we're getting ready for a recession. Yeah, it's happening, baby. Recession is on the way. No, it's uncertainty related to this virus. And then when we get done with that by June or whenever it's over, then it's going to be presidential election uncertainty time. It happens every 4 years right after Labor Day. Every businessman and woman in this country just decides, I'm not going to do anything till January. I'm not going to do anything till January. It slows down all the time. So as we see slower and slower numbers in 2020, it's not because the underlying health of the economy is weak. It's because we got two weird things going on. So let me just prove it to you. I don't expect you to believe a word I say. And it's all sourced. Every one of these got a source at the bottom of them. Let me show you why I'm optimistic. Still, every month, somewhere between 75,000 and 300,000 people are getting a job. Wouldn't that be awesome if you heard that on CNN once in a while? It'd be just great. 300,000. Even here, late in the game, we're in the almost 11 years, we're in record territory for the longest expansion. Are we getting long in the tooth? Is the sugar high burning off? In January, 225,000 people, nearly 250,000 people got a job in January. In addition to that, wages are going up about 3.5% a year. That's not as high as it used to be, but it's sure a lot better than where it has been. And so what happens when 250,000 people get a job every month and the whole country's getting a 3.5% pay bump, what do you suppose they do? They go out and buy stuff. That's right. Back in 2010, I told people, yeah, we're in a recession. You know how you get out of it? You go buy stuff. It's your patriotic duty. Go to the mall and buy something. Sing the national anthem when you're going in. And it's so funny because I was in Dallas, and I mentioned that about 2 years ago, and there was about a whole table of 10 ladies that looked like they're like 30 to 40 years old, dressed really nicely. And when I said that about it's your duty, those ladies looked at each other and kind of started laughing at each other. And I said, I just found a table of patriots right down here. These people have been leaving it on the battlefield. This number went down a little bit. This is the kind of stuff I watch. These are called inflection points. It's still super strong. This could turn into a cloud here. This is one of those pre-clouds. I got a real cloud, but this is a pre-cloud. The good news of this is there's almost 7 million jobs. There have been over 7 million jobs available forever. Nobody hears that on TV either. None of this good news you will have heard anywhere. But that took a drop here just recently, and that's a big drop. It's down now to 6.5 million. There were more people, probably still are, more people, there's more jobs available than there are people to fill them. We need legal immigration bad. Wouldn't that be awesome? How come the last 5 or 6 presidents, cute little presidents from the Republican tribe, the Democrat tribe, can't get it done, period? Talk a big story, get nothing done. Wouldn't that be awesome if there was legal immigration here? People could come in, hold their head high, pay some taxes, feel like they're a part of the community. There's no dreamers, there's no fear, there's none of that stuff. Wouldn't that be awesome? I'm convinced that the Republicans and Democrats have no interest in solving this at all, that it's a political football, and that's how they get their tribe ginned up to vote, and you get your tribe ginned up to vote, and they never do anything. It's almost like a mayor and a city manager saying, we're going to make a big push on affordable housing this year. Never happens. Household net worth's up to $113 trillion. This is another reason socialism's on the dance floor, because for a long time, our government didn't care about growth in the economy. This was before we had the tax reform, which was real fiscal policy. Before that, all we had was monetary policy, which means make interest rates go to zero, so bonds will go up, real estate will go up, and stocks will go up. And it worked. See how it worked? It went up. What happened if you didn't own a house or commercial real estate or bonds or stocks? Guess what you got out of this? That would be nothing. This is monetary policy. This is what Ben Bernanke was all about. I like Ben Bernanke. He got us out of a problem. And he would admit, if he's up here, it's like, yeah, well, hey, his answer is, I've heard it. He's like, well, what do you think it'd be like if I didn't do that in the first place? How about that one? And I get it. But this is the problem. If you got stocks, commercial real estate, and bonds, you're going, yeah, baby, love this monetary policy. Household equity in homes is up to a record high now. This is why people want to buy houses. There's enormous demand for houses. That story that you heard about the low end of the market having no inventory and multiple deals, and they're not on the market for very long, that's all over the country. Any city in America that's got job growth has that exact same story. The bottom third of the price range with multiple offers, no supply, and prices going up. And you heard that prices went up here 5% last year. That's not good, really. I mean, if you own 3 houses, you go, yeah, I'm all fair with that. Let's get it up to 6, maybe 7. Let's see if we can punch it up there. But you know what happens every year that goes by that a house goes up faster than wages do? They get where they're not affordable, and that's where we are now. And that's why apartments are in such strong demand. House prices are going to continue to go up. As long as you don't have any inventory, house prices are going to, I don't care how high they are. And here's another thing I'll mention to you. You think house prices are high now? The mortgage rate was 4% 6 months ago. You know what it is today? 3.3. When people can borrow money at 3.3, they're going to be able to pay even higher. And you know what's going to happen the next time we have a recession? Nobody's saying this at all, so discount this 50% because I'm the only one saying it, but it's a fact, I think. I think within the next 5 years, the entire country will be able to get a 30-year fixed rate mortgage at 2% interest. I can see the cards on that. I'll show you some facts here in a minute just so you can make your own decision. Consumer confidence is near a record high. Wouldn't that be fun if they showed that on MSNBC or Fox? Consumer confidence is good. Isn't it a good time to be in America? It's a grand time to be in America. No, we can't say that because other people might benefit if we said that. Consumer confidence is nearly off the chart. It's so much higher than it was in 06. I didn't think consumer confidence could ever get higher than 06 because what was happening back then, you could buy a house with 107% loan to value ratio with no job and bad credit. And you could do it, you could buy 100 of them and take the cash out of each one of them and then never make a payment and then rent it out to somebody. And if you live in New York, it takes them 4 years to foreclose on you. I called that entrepreneurship at the time. And it still takes that long to foreclose in New York. I didn't think you could get more giddy than euphoric than that. And here we are today. You know what the good news about all this is? The American people aren't listening to TV or the media, period. I love it. This is the best part of the whole thing. The American people have woken up and figured out that the value of news is virtually zero, other than for tribal warfare. That's all it is. You know how you stay informed? Students ask me that at A&M. How do you stay informed then? Wall Street Journal. If you're a business person, pretty easy. Wall Street Journal. And if you're not a business person or you don't like the Wall Street Journal, talking to clients. I mean, that's how I get it. When I'm talking to you, if I'm sitting at your table for 8, networking, you're going to find I never ask you about your children. I don't want to know anything about your grandchildren either. And I don't want to know whether you like the Chiefs or the Cowboys, okay? I want to know what business you're in. That will be my conversation. And my wife goes, he's so right, he's so boring, okay? I totally understand. My question at the table will be is, what part of the business world are you in? Really? Okay, good. How's it going? Is it better than it was 6 months ago or worse than 6 months ago? Whatever you answer, I always say, why? What's changed to make it better or worse? That's how you get real information. Talking to real human beings that work with a real job that are out in the marketplace, earning a living and serving clients. And Wolf Blitzer doesn't have a clue about that. And none of those other people that are their experts on TV, they don't have a clue about it either. I would much rather talk to a machinist at Spirit or someplace like that and go, you still working your tail off like 900 hours a week or whatever? That's how I find out information. Small business confidence. Small businesses are important to this country in a big way. Is now a good time to expand? Yes, it is. Are you going to hire anybody in the next 3 months? Yes, we're going to. Household debt service. You hear all the time about how heavily people are in debt. That's all you hear. Oh, yeah. Ooh, gonna have a recession. Everybody's in debt. Well, you know what everybody's done in the last 5 years? They've refinanced all their debt. And their debt service, that's how much monthly payment you make. Their debt service as a percent of their whole income has never been lower than it is right now. And you know what Americans do when they got capacity to put on some debt? They buy stuff. Here's the number one thing you can remember about America till you die, and that is this. Americans do not tolerate deferred gratification, okay? That is just not, we don't do that, okay? And when you got debt capacity, you're going to do something with it. This is a monster fact right here. New single-family homes. This is what happened to the housing shortage and why I don't think it's ever coming back. I mentioned this last year. 2008, 2009, 10, it fell off a cliff. Nobody wanted to buy a house because people lost $6 trillion in equity in their homes. $6 trillion loss in their homes over about a 3-year period of time. But look, it's coming back, and that's good. But this slide is the supply side of things. And this is why I think supply will never catch up and why prices will continue to go up more than they should, like 5% a year. That's super normal. That's unusual to go up 5%. 2 is more normal. But this is the supply side. And it goes back to about 1960, if I can see that right. Man, I need to get new glasses. Yeah, 1958 is where it goes. And that red line is 1 million units. This single family, nothing to do with apartments. We were building 1 million units in 1958. And the population in America in 1965 is 194 million people. And now our population is 328 million, and we're just barely building 1 million units a year. See why we have a housing shortage? Population just about doubled, and the construction and production of houses is barely where it was 40 years ago. That's why inventory is so low. And people took my advice about 2009, 2010. If there was ever a chance I was going to get fired from A&M, I was at a big fundraising event in Houston at that time. It's about 2010. And I said, if you're even thinking about buying gold, I would just recommend you take cocaine instead, because at least you'll feel good before it kills you. And the dean did not like that. Deans don't have a sense of humor. That's just part of the job. But this is why the prices keep going up, because we just can't catch up. There's not enough lots around for sale. When you find out that there's plenty of lots for sale, the price appreciation will start to slow down. Meanwhile, here's some more good news, surprising good news to me. The housing market kind of hit a peak last year, and it kind of felt like the housing market had hit a cyclical peak and was going to slow down. Well, all of a sudden in the last fall, home builder stocks went through the roof. And then this kind of stuff comes out just a couple of weeks ago. Headlines, all you got to say, hottest home building market since 2006. You know what happens when housing is a huge component of our economy? And when that's going down, that's a big deal. But you know what? When it's been going down and it starts going up again, that's typically the start of another expansion. So, yeah, see, he doesn't believe me. I get it. Let's see, what do they say at the convention? Really? Really? I saw that yesterday. Delinquency rates on mortgages have never been lower. The housing market is solid as a rock. There's not enough supply. That's what's creating enormous demand for multifamily, and that's why multifamily is one of my favorite investment property types, especially workforce housing. Index of leading indicators. When this goes down to that black line, that's 0, you have a recession. It's not even close to that, not even trying to go close to that. When they were telling you last year we're going to have a recession in 2019, I'm looking at that going, wow, how are you possibly trying to tell people that? Just astounding to me. So, you should be feeling giddy and euphoric at this point, because I have just showed you that the underlying economy is stronger than a pit bull. Let me talk about a couple of clouds. Then I want to talk about interest rates for a minute. The bottom, these are corporate profits since the turn of the century. And the bottom one is before tax. And it's starting to go down. This is an early warning, because when profits are going up, they hire and expand. When profits go flat, they stop hiring so much. And when profits start to decline consistently, they will start laying off people. It's not bad enough to have it happen yet. We're not seeing anybody laying off people, but I can tell you, I'm watching this trend. This is the biggest cloud out in the sky while we're out fishing. All those cumulus clouds are still white, but there's one up there that I'm thinking, I'm watching that guy to see if he turns color on me, and it's this one. And we'll see. I think what's happening is the wages are going up faster than prices. So anybody in this room paying higher wages for help than they were a year ago? Really, raise your hand if yeah, it's okay to raise your hand. I'm not a socialist. I'm not going to take away your business. It's okay. It's okay. Yeah, so wages are going up pretty good, and that's great. But at the same time, it's hitting corporate profits too. So I'm watching this one like a hawk. No sign at this point, but keeping an eye on it. Meanwhile, the big companies say they're going to hire. 40% most recently said they're going to hire, and only 23% are going to lay off. So that's good. And a corporate bond spread, I'm not going to get into this in any more detail because it's late and you've had alcohol to drink for a little while. But if this is down your pipeline, what this means is here's the interest rates that the government can borrow at, and here's the interest rates that businesses can borrow at. You have no chance of default. You might go into bankruptcy and default, and you have to pay a higher interest rate than the government does. And the higher that you pay than they pay is called the spread. So when the spread's high, like it is in that middle back in 2008, the whole world thought you were all in the business world going to go bankrupt in a month. Well, now we're in a situation where the whole world is looking at the American business people and saying, I don't see any problem with you at all. If I got thrown into jail for criticizing communist dictator Xi over there, and they put me in jail and said, you can eat gruel and you can have access to one PowerPoint slide a month to support your capitalistic pig business, okay? This is all I would need. You don't need to really look at anything. You don't even need the Wall Street Journal. As long as this bond spread's low, that means every bond person on earth is looking at the American business people and saying, I'm seeing clear sailing ahead. Initial claims for unemployment, astoundingly low. We should be having ticker tape parades in New York City over how wonderful it is to be in business in this country. Now, let me talk about interest rates a minute, because I did mention that I thought the 30-year mortgage rate could go to 2%. You know what? People were kind of gasping when I said that 6 or 8 months ago. You know, but the problem is it's getting down to 3.3, and what I see happening, it isn't even starting yet. This ain't nothing. If you think it's a big deal that the 30-year is now 3.3 this afternoon, the showtime hadn't even started. The circus hasn't even got to town. The elephants haven't got out of the train yet. The tent isn't even up. The ringmaster's here, but he's not doing nothing. Wait till the elephants get out of the train and the ringmaster gets busy at work. I'm chairman of the Federal Reserve, and I got 2 tools. I don't care what your problem is. You got a problem with a virus? We'll lower interest rates. You got a problem with a credit market problem? We'll lower interest rates. We got a president that's too grouchy and gripes at us all the time? We'll lower interest rates. Oh, the Wall Street people, they demanding that rates go down. Okay, we'll lower rates. See, I'm a one-trick pony. I actually got 2 tricks, but it's the same trick, just a different. I got a dove and a pigeon, okay? I'm Jay Powell. And if he was here, he'd go, hey, he's kind of right. I kind of wish I could talk like that, but my governmental affairs and communications people would never let me speak like that. But it's true. And here's trick number 1. I'll lower the short-term interest rate. So anybody in this room that borrows short-term money, maybe for a year at a time, LIBOR-based borrower, I can lower that rate, and I can raise that rate. And you see, back when I was selling houses back in 1980, as chairman of the Fed, I had to raise the interest rate to 19% to get a recession because the inflation was getting crazy. Next iteration, I only had to raise it to 10. Next one, 6.5. Next one, 5.25. This one, 2.5. See what's happening? Our economy is the strongest on earth, but it's not that strong. Our economy can't tolerate 5% interest rates, let alone 6 or let alone 10. You're waiting around. If you're an investor and you're waiting around for yields to go back up, you might be waiting a while. I think interest rates are going to be low for the rest of my life. And for those of you that don't know me, you think I'm 85, I'm really 65, just so you know what the duration is of my estimate when I say in my lifetime. 2.5. It got up to 2.5, and that started to sink the economy. Where are we at now? 1.5. What is everybody saying? Oh, we got a virus coming. You got to cut rates 3 times this year. We're at the peak of the market. Stocks are high, bonds are high, real estate's high, unemployment's record lows, and our interest rates are at virtually nothing already. What do you think is going to happen when we have a real recession and the unemployment rate doubles, which it will at some point? That's the downside of capitalism. You have these pesky recessions once in a while. It's what you have to put up with if you like freedom. If you don't like freedom, you won't have as many recessions. Your life will never be good. But it'll be sane. It'll be stable. I think I'm making this up. Ask anybody that's immigrated to this country from Vietnam or from China or from Central America or Central Europe or Eastern Europe. Find somebody, or Iran. Find anybody that's lived in a country like that. They will tell you, this Mark Dotzer, he's a pansy. He won't really tell it like it is. He's mincing his words too much. He should be telling you, if you think socialism is a good idea, you're an idiot, all right? And if I had $500,000, my wife told me a couple days ago, do it. You can get your own money, do it. I would hire 5 30-year-olds from Central and Eastern Europe and just go all over the country and say, don't believe me. I'm a white guy, 65 years old. I know you don't want to like me or believe anything I say. I get it. Here are 5 men and women from Slovakia and Bulgaria and Romania and those places. Here's 5 of them. Listen to their story about what socialism and communism destroyed their family's future for 5 generations. So anyhow, our economy is the strongest on earth, but it's not that strong. All it takes is 2.5 to slow us down. What's my other trick? My other trick is I can lower the one-day rate, but I got a new trick I just learned in 2008. I can print $4 trillion and buy mortgages. And I can make mortgages go from 3.3. You think they're low today? I can print $4 or $5 trillion in a couple of months. And I can buy every mortgage in America, and you might only pay $1,000 for them, but I'll pay $1,200 for them, and I can make the mortgage rate go to 0 if I want to. Google that for fun. Denmark, 30-year mortgage, negative interest rate. See what you come up with. It's already there in Europe. That's what happens when you don't have capitalism. Your growth is low, and so interest rates are low. You know why cap rates are so low? I mean, when you were talking about cap rates here, that sounds like bombshell numbers compared to other places I've been. This is called a secondary market. Wichita would be known as a secondary market compared to New York, Boston, Washington, D.C., Seattle, San Francisco, L.A., maybe Chicago. Primary markets, the yields are so low there, people are swarming out of there to come into secondary markets like Wichita, like Tulsa, well, not College Station. I don't even know what's south of tertiary. We're in a quaternary market. I don't even know what that word would be. But the yields here are high. They sound low. If you're 60 years old, you go, wow, these yields are terrible. How many people in this room still using an HP 12C? Come on, show me. Yeah. Okay, there's 100% correlation with people that use an HP 12C and people that think that inflation is going to run away in the next 6 months. There's just something about that calculator. You push the button the wrong way and it goes, inflation will skyrocket within 6 months. Like, oh. They've been waiting for inflation to return since 1982. How long is that now? That's getting to be like a long time. Here's why people will waltz into Wichita, Kansas, and some older guy that's in the business say, oh man, yields are so low. I'm not buying that. I've been buying stuff with a bigger yield than that for like 30 years. Well, here's the problem is somebody from Germany, they walk in here and their bond rate is a negative 0.4%. Do you even know? I got a PhD in finance. I didn't even know how you get a negative bond rate. Here's how it works. You're the German. Here's what you get. You go to the bank. You buy a 10-year Treasury. You pay $1,100 for it. You get no interest for 10 years. And when it matures, you get $1,000 back. It's a guaranteed loss. And you go, what idiot does that? Well, nobody does that except the European Central Bank. And me, I'm Jay Powell. I can do the same thing. I'm that idiot. I can buy those mortgages for a lot of money, way more than you'll ever buy them for. But this is the deal. If you live in Japan, negative interest rate. You live in France, negative. You live in Germany, negative. Just in the last 2 weeks, our 10-year Treasury went from 154, it's down to 136 this afternoon, just getting smaller. And like I said, the circus hasn't even opened yet. So let me say something here in a minute. I'm going to close in about 6 minutes. An old economist in Washington, D.C. told me a long time ago, every economist used the words "in conclusion" to give their audience hope. Okay? I'm going to close in 6 minutes, whether I get to the bottom or not. Thank you for your kind attention, by the way. It's such a treat to be here. Your government has $22 trillion in debt, and I don't care. We're never going to try to pay that off. Why I never have talked about the government debt in this room ever over the whole period of this is because I feel like it's irrelevant. If our government debt was $22 trillion today, if it gets up to $44 trillion tomorrow, I might start talking about it. That's for another day. But you know what your government has done? They've refinanced the whole debt. Here's the number I want you to look at. The average interest rate for the whole federal debt was 6.5% in 2000, and they've refinanced the whole thing down to 2.34%. That's why $22 trillion, you don't feel it. Have you seen a cut in any of your benefits or anything because of the interest on that massive debt? They've refinanced the whole thing down to 234. Now, you might follow up with a cagey question and go, yeah, well, what happens if rates go up? I decided after hearing that question a million times, I'm going to put the numbers to it. So if you ask me what happens in America if interest rates go up 2%, here's what happens. Our federal budget, 2018, it's the only one latest one CBO had out, $4.1 trillion. That's what your government spends in a year. And that dark blue circle up there around 11 o'clock on the clock is Social Security, and it's $982 billion. Right underneath that is a little less dark. That's Medicare. That's $582 billion. The other one that's kind of periwinkle, I love saying periwinkle because I love crayons, all those colors, maize and burnt sienna. I don't know why. It's weird. I like spreadsheets too. Can't help it. Okay, so there you go. So what happens if interest rates go up 2% and your government has to pay 4% or whatever it is instead of 2%? Well, here's what happened. What's a 2% increase on $22 trillion? That's $440 billion. So here's the answer to that question. If rates go up by 2%, interest expense on the federal side would go up by $440 billion, and that would consume 75% of all Medicare payments. Or it would consume 45% of all Social Security. That's what will happen if interest rates go up. Now I'm back to Jay Powell again. I got the tricks. I can push the one interest rate I can shoot the 1 day rate down to 0. It's at 1.5. I can make that go to 0 in 3 months. And then I can print $4 trillion and I can make all the long bonds go down too. I'm not going to let this happen. You ask me what will happen if rates go up 2%, I will say they can't. They won't. Because the ringmaster, the circus master, has all the tools. And I'm going to show you that in just a second when I finish. You think I'm making this up? Look for yourself. This is the Federal Reserve's Minutes Open Market Committee, summer of 2018. That's what they call it. This is a code word. Monetary policy options at the effective lower bound. What does that mean? I asked my hotshot 1,000 economists to give me something. It's like, I got one trick, boys. I want to use this other trick, but what else can I do besides this trick? Well, there is no more tricks. But what they're saying is, when we get down, the Fed funds rate down to 0, we're going to go right back and do what we did 8 years ago and print money and buy bonds. And then, so with this, that's 2018, August. Here's a year later, September 19, same discussion, same topic. The economists come back and say, hey, Jay, look at that one phrase there. We're going to have to do this, and we're going to do it earlier than we thought and more aggressive than we thought. They can't wait to turn the machine on. The minute anything happens in this country, they will turn the machine on and drive long bonds way down and mortgages way down. Meanwhile, commercial real estate will continue to escalate. There's only a few ways you can protect yourself from that kind of stuff. And commercial real estate's one of them. Gold's another. Actually, Bitcoin is kind of there. It's too risky. I won't own it. But, and land. Property values are continuing to go up a lot. When you get into secondary and tertiary markets, these people are still reporting sale prices up 13% for industrial. These are national numbers. You can see them. I don't need to read them. And then here's your alternative. So you think yields are too low on real estate, so what do? You go into stocks. You go into bonds and you earn nothing, or you can go into stocks and get diversification. Oh, you can buy an ETF. You can just buy the whole market. That way you're fully diversified. The only problem is those 5 companies make up 18% of the whole market. It's not fully diversified. It's not even close. Here's the last one I want to close with this. I just saw this about 2 weeks ago. This summarizes everything I've been reading. I couldn't have wrote it better. The greatest mistake made over the last decade by strategists and economists was to assume that public sectors will allow business cycles or nature to take their course. What's the public sector? That's your government. That's the Federal Reserve. It's a mistake to assume that these sectors will allow business cycles or nature to take their course. While states have always interfered, today they are far more intrusive, and the free markets essentially no longer exist. So when somebody tells me interest rates are low, that's a signal the economy's getting weak. It could be, or it could be a signal that your government is turning the presses on. And that's the case in Japan, and that's the case all over Europe. So the signals have been totally distorted. The good news, therefore, is that the downside of asset prices is protected. The bad news is that conventional strategies no longer work. That's why we've been recommending avoiding conventional investments and economic rules, and why we consistently focus on non-mean reversionary portfolios. Just focus on that, why we've been recommending avoiding conventional investment and economic rules. You think yields are too low? That's because you're using conventional wisdom. And what these people are saying is this free market does not exist anymore. And so if you can get a decent yield on a freestanding Walgreens in Wichita, Kansas, people are going to roll up in a pickup truck or a big semi-trailer and say, give me a boatload of that stuff, because I'm not finding yield anywhere else, and it's going to get lower before it gets better. And price it. What do you think will happen to the price of houses when everybody can buy a house with a 2% mortgage? They'll get cheap for a little bit, and then the prices will go up. So anyhow, I want to share this information with you because it is a great time to be alive, but just be aware of your circumstances, and the world you live in is way different than the world you've lived in over the last 50 years. So with that said, I thank you for inviting me. Thank you for your kind attention. I just hope you have a wonderful year ahead and enjoy being an American. Thank you so much.